Tennessee beating Alabama. What can be done about the faking of injuries, which is just abhorrent and has gotten to be overboard? As a matter of fact, can we pull up that one Alabama clip? And I'll update everybody with our poll question, because a coach was asked to explain that bizarre substitution penalty in which an Alabama defensive back, was sent out on the field to collapse. It was the collapse play. So, and we'll get to our poll question that is going to discuss who's more valuable, Jermod McCoy or James Pierce. So far, the answers are a bit surprising. But first, Kalen DeBoer is most likely to get fired in 4 years, 92%, win a championship, 7%. Again, I think because of NIL and the transfer portal, that elite jobs are not elite jobs when a legend leaves. I think the same thing will be the case for Kirby Smart. Let's say Josh Heupel has championship success. I think it'll be the same thing. I just think that making that transition with the transfer portal as it is pretty much impossible. So, Caleb, do we have the clip of the Alabama coach who is explaining the injuries? Because to me, this is a huge, monstrous indictment that this coach shouldn't be speaking to the media any longer, because he was completely taken unaware. And this is also proof. No, I think that's the jump shot one. Do you have the other one?
So that is the jump shot one. I apologize. Just give me 1 second.
No worries. All good. All right.
Let's unshare this for a minute.
Unshare that
amateur
one.
Hour, guys. Amateur Hour.
Doing a great job. As I remind you, portions of the program are brought to you by the UPS store Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses, wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated. The link is right down below for the UPS store Hardin Valley. All right, so
it's coming up now. Yeah, we got it this time.
All right, we got it this time. So this is very troublesome to me, and I know it's not the easiest thing to see, and if you're on our audio platforms, you can't see it at all. But basically, it's a split screen, and it's the illegal substitution that was called, that technically probably shouldn't have been called, because it was a player going down, which is still okay by the rules. But this is one of their coaches trying to explain this away. Here we go.
How would you describe what happened on that illegal substitution penalty where it looked like Moling was pushed King and then he went down?
Yeah, I mean, guys, obviously, we tell guys if you're injured or if you're hurt or if you're, pulling up with a cramp, you got to go down in that situation. We're not able to substitute someone when a team is going fast, and so if you're injured, the protocol there is for a guy to go down, and I think we were able. Our training room does a tremendous job, and we got a guy back after.
Okay, so I've studied over my life pantomimes, which is a great way of determining if someone is lying or not. And one of the pantomimes that is common is when your voice starts to trail off. That's exactly what happened there. The guy was not hurt at all. Now, I've talked to Jacob Warren about this. There have been times where he has gone down during the game, and he's right. He's coached to do this, that he hates doing it because he thinks, my mom may be watching or my grandmother may be watching and think I'm really hurt. But you are taught, if it's just something small, to do this. But coaches are not taught to push players back on the field that could be injured, Caleb.
No, they're not taught to do that at all. And so it's hilarious that he said that. We're now seeing why Kane Wommack may have been fired from his last coaching job, because that's the one who spoke right there. He is, for those who don't know, the defensive coordinator at Alabama, and he was at South Alabama for 3 years. And to be fair, he actually, I thought, did a pretty good job there. But maybe he wasn't fired. Maybe he just left to become the defensive coordinator at Alabama. Maybe he thought that was a better job. But yeah, I'm with you. What he said made no sense. And the truth of the matter was, you were right. There's not a there wasn't a top-down one voice. This is what you say when you're asked about this. Whatever you think about Lane Kiffin, Dave, I guarantee it's so obvious Lane Kiffin's faking injuries now that I bet he tells his entire staff and all of his players, say this one thing when you're asked about it.
Yeah,
Don't
or
say
just say
anything
that's
else.
a head coach question. I mean, this to me is further proof that Kalen DeBoer was not ready for the spotlight of the SEC. And I don't know that anybody is until they get in it. I think Josh Heupel's had his growing pains. I think Nick Saban had his growing pains. I know that at LSU, he called Jimmy Sexton and said, "What have you gotten me into?" And Jimmy Sexton reminded him that there are more athletes at the time that get to the NFL at the time than any state per capita. And that's when Nick Saban said, "Okay, I'll hang tight." But I don't think any coach is ready for the spotlight of the SEC. The question I have, and only about 10% of you think that Kalen DeBoer can get it turned around, is he able to make it through to build his own team because of the transfers? That's easier said than done, Caleb.
Yeah, much easier said than done. And I think again, this is where it's tricky with Kalen DeBoer, is I don't think he's a bad coach. I actually do. I'm with Jimmy. I think he's a great coach. The problem is the expectation level at Alabama, but it's not just the expectation level. Okay, here's what happens. And Jimmy brought up Holly Warlick on the last segment. And what I'll say about Holly Warlick is this, that I think was unfair. Holly won 3 SEC titles her first 3 years there. But then the next 3 years she finished, there was a slow decline to where the last year her team was unranked, got bounced out in the first round of the NCAA tournament. It was a really bad decline. What happened? When the coach is not living up to the expectations of that the previous head coach set, that doesn't mean they're not good, but the narrative creeps in that the program is slipping. And it's an unfair narrative a lot of times. But Dave, you know this, the minute that narrative creeps in, recruiting suffers and the mentality infects the players there. And once that narrative creeps in, you can't get it back. And so I think that's really what happens. That's what makes it, that's the hard part about following the legend, is that it's honestly narratives created by national media. I mean, how many times did you see this week? Nick Saban never lost 2 games before November after the 2007 season. And it's like, what the heck is Kalen DeBoer supposed to do at this point if he's going to hear that every single time something doesn't go, every single time he has a good season that's just not like a Nick Saban season?
I agree. New poll question brought to you by Peak IV Hydration in South Knoxville and Sevierville. Live your life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. Go to peakivhydration.com and you can order the patches. You don't have to be in person to get the IV. Those patches are fantastic.